Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Tonight it's going to be a unique podcast. I've got a unique panel. A panel which we were just having a laugh a minute ago. I actually don't know everyone's names. Yeah, well, I don't know the original names, put it that way. Today's podcast is really introducing and highlighting the main team that works behind MCA Mosque, and also to highlight generally the hard work and effort that the volunteers put in, which make the Masjid a success, make it a good experience for people, the Musallis that come in, whether it be Fajr to Isha, whether it be the busy Jummah Salah that people attend, or Ramdhan is the busiest peak season for the Muslims who are regularly attending the Masjid, and it takes a huge team to pull it all off. And especially at MCM, we have an amazing team. So I'm going to start by introducing everyone. So my right hand side, go on, introduce yourself. Yeah.
My name is Adil.
Adil, mashallah. Brother Adil plays a huge role, and I'm going to ask each one after this small intro to tell us what they get up to. And then we go Hasti. Hasti. What's the full name? Yeah. Hassan. Then on his right we have Molana Moeen, who has been a regular attendee since he came back from Umrah. Then to his right ahead of me, we have Hassaan. He's one of the twins. They're known as the twins. The twins are sitting opposite each other. And then we have finally Ansar. So this is one of the teams, and this is only, I think, if not even a fifth of the team, or even a tenth of the team, I guess. There's a huge team that there's a cleaning team, then that takes care of the security. But this team particularly, I've called on because they're a bit vocal, and I personally enjoy their company. I don't know how strict or the serious they're going to be on camera, but behind cameras, it's a joke. Yeah, but we basically enjoy ourselves, basically. Yeah, alhamdulillah. And so in terms of these guys, they're all brothers, except for Ansar, I think. Are you related anyway? No. So these are all four brothers. So you've got Hasti, you've got Hassan, you've got Adil, Moeen. These are the brothers. They've got how many others?
Two
more brothers. And all of the credit goes to hard work that you see, the support and what they do in and around the building is because of the hard works and the du'as of their honourable father who passed away. And as we speak right now, today is also the day of his by the fourth Barsi, yeah? As we speak right now. And what a coincidence, yeah. Yeah, and they're all on camera today, and we're going to try to see the work they've done. Their father, Haji Khalid Marhum Rahmatullah Ta'ala alayh, was a very close friend of mine. I think towards the end of his life, I probably saw him more than you guys saw him. Yeah. Yeah, because I saw him 5 times a day in the masjid. And of course, you guys, of course, are busy. One's living in Cheadle, one wherever you live in. You will bump into your dad, whatever you can. But I bumped into him 5 times a day. There were times where I'm in bed, and he'd ring me at Fajr. I was up, where are you? Yeah, literally, yeah, I know he sat on the first row behind the Musalla, and he's belling me out. It's Fajr, 5 minutes left. There's no Imam, turn up. And I'll be pegging it to the masjid. We had a wicked relationship. But we know he's worked really hard. And his love for the Masjid is one thing that he, alhamdulillah, we can say successfully has passed that on to his kids. And the result of that we are seeing here today in the form of his sons, that they play a huge role, especially in the funeral service. So let me put it, how did you guys actually get started? Your role in the masjid? Go on.
Okay, I can start it off.
Go on, Bismillah, go for it.
I was going to be the one that's going to come in right at the end, but so we've been coming to the massages since we can remember as babies. Started off coming to read Jummah, starting Taraweehs, messing about as kids do. Yeah.
Were you actually reading Taraweeh, or were you running away when they were doing sajda?
Well, that's a question for another day, I think, and an answer for another day. But yeah, so kids do come to mess about. We were all in there. We're not all saints right at the beginning, and alhamdulillah, we're doing what we can. I think when it came to starting, I think it was the majority of our team got together when the COVID hit properly. Before COVID, we did quite a lot of work anyway, but it was one that was probably not seen, yeah, because it was not one where, COVID time we had 10 deaths a day. Yeah, we were burying 10 Muslims a day. Not just from our masajid. but from other massages around Manchester.
Mm.
I think I'll go see to Adil. The Pete at the graveyard approached Adil to say, look, we need some help. We've got 6 funerals that are happening in the Christian side. We've got a couple of Chinese getting buried, but we've got quite a few Muslims that are getting buried at the same time. And that's where it all started. And that's where the team got together.
I also overheard a conversation. You guys were so busy. You were basically munching in the graveyard. Is that true?
We literally
We had a
we had
tent.
10
We had a
Practically, yeah.
People used to drop food off at us.
All right.
They were
Everybody
practically.
used to get
So what
fed,
happened was, I think
alhamdulillah.
when it comes to COVID time, we were in a position where the houses of worship were shut.
Yep.
Whether you were a Christian, the churches were shut. Whether you were a Jew, the synagogues were shut. The massages were shut. So the grieving grounds for people were at the graveyard,
Okay.
where we were restricted to 30 people, but they were all getting together within the graveyard. So
Oh.
we were not just seeing the burial side of it, we were supporting families as well at the same time.
Yeah, and I think Pete seen how the way we controlled it there, so we made sure that they were keeping the distances, etc. A couple of times we had the council come and taking pictures, but we didn't give them a reason to
okay.
publish. You know what I mean? So, mashallah, that's why Pete praised us a lot, because we kept it controlled.
And that's where you started to play a more active, apparent role within MCM.
No, so beforehand we were doing quite a lot in the back. We were doing gussels when we needed them.
Yeah, we did
We did
quite a few
funerals,
before,
yeah.
and then you had the major events that happened. Like for example, the imams that used to come from different masjids. We used to help out beforehand and make sure they were happy here. So we did quite a lot before that as well.
I mean, I remember even before I got involved with MCM, many years before that, all I used to see was the method now take place. And all you guys like,
On the radios.
Roger that.
With the high vises on and
Yeah.
the radios and
And
everything.
it used to be all you guys at the front.
Yeah.
And a bit after that, it just went downhill, man. What did you guys do to it?
Excuse me?
Go on.
In what sense?
After that, it's completely dead now, isn't it?
I'll tell you one reason.
Go on.
One of the reasons why we actually started what we talked about before behind the scenes is people used to throw money.
All right.
So when the nasheeds and the nats were going on, people used to throw money, and we've always been told that throwing money is haram.
Okay.
So when we seen a few people doing it, we actually, no one was stopping
didn't like it.
We didn't like it. So we started getting them to sit down, etc., etc. So then every year when it came, we decided, let's get together, let's make sure it doesn't happen again. And I think from there we grew a little team, and mashallah, we're not even just mates, we've become brothers now. So mashallah, we've got our own little team which we call Black Ops. So we've got, it's a private name, but it's all open now, but it's called Black Ops. There's about 8 people in it.
Okay.
But mashallah, whenever there's an event that's going to happen, we always
These
message
are the guys
each-
that get the call first.
and then we say, right,
We
what
will
can we
get-
do to make this, successful and make sure everyone's happy, etc.
Okay, and just to be clear, how much do you get paid for this?
I'm always hoping for the black, was it brown envelope?
Brown envelope.
Never get it.
Never
No bill check or something?
When the brown envelopes are going out, he's there like,
Where's my brown
mine?
envelope? But our reward is with Allah. We do it for the sake of Allah.
So during COVID, when you're doing like 10 janazas a day, if per janaza, even if it takes you half an hour, that's 5 hours for jokes.
Oh, they would-
We used to get to the graveyard for about 8 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And we never used to leave until 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. So we were there for 10 hours every day for 3 months.
And I'll be honest, anytime I wanted to find my brothers,
But he knew
I would go straight to the graveyard. I wouldn't even check. I wouldn't ring them. I wouldn't check. I knew during COVID time, this time they'll be in the graveyard, and I'll just go there and see where they are.
No.
For a full 3
That's-
months, we were there for 10 days.
I was talking about the graveyard
10 hours.
funeral. You want to share some experiences from
What, graveyard experience?
graveyard experiences?
Spooky stories.
not just the spooky ones. Even some enlightening ones maybe as well.
Well,
Go on, Adil.
there's a few main concerns, should we say. Let's start with the concerns first, yeah?
All right.
The concerns are feeding pigeons at the cemetery.
Okay.
People don't realise that feeding the pigeons, yes, okay, we think we're going to get a reward, alhamdulillah, we're feeding an animal, we're going to feed it. But what they don't realise is what happens at night.
What happened?
What happens at night?
They attract rats.
They attract rats, their droppings.
Oh,
And
Lord,
what happens is,
okay.
unfortunately, the rats, they start to dig into the graves.
They actually
Wow.
you get holes in the graveyard.
I'm actually hearing this for the first time.
Okay, so
It's a
Because,
graveyard now, there's a sign up saying that the council will fine you if you feed the pigeons.
How much is the fine?
It starts
About
at
two-
£100.
Is it?
Anything
Okay.
between
If
2,500.
you're convicted, then it goes to £2,500.
So I
2,500.
Yeah.
so I actually seen a few brothers there with the sign. They seen the sign, walked straight past it, and started showing the food.
Yeah, this is
The
it.
education is not there.
Yeah.
Hmm. So I mean, I guess knowing that there's going to be rats, is there any significance of that being rats
Right.
going in the grave?
They
Is
eat. They
there
eat.
any
They
specific-
eat. Rats eat the droppings. It's not that anything else. It's
They don't
the
eat the
dropping.
food.
They don't eat the food.
that
They
the
don't
bread
eat the
and
food that they found.
They
It's
eat the droppings.
droppings of the pigeons.
So
That's
are they not doing a good job cleaning up?
They are, but they're also going into the. They're going into the.
Maybe we need to start doing that.
Yeah, they are. It's,
Sure. No. Okay, that's one concern. Okay,
Yeah.
any others?
I wouldn't say there's any concerns. I mean, the biggest one is, you know, obviously everyone's for their own. You have some people that pass away, they don't have any family members. So sometimes the graves can cave in. But I think as a whole Muslim community, we shouldn't be pinpointing, you know, oh, that's not my grave. We don't own that. So what we do as a team is if there's holes there, so for example, we'll message the group and we'll say, look, there's a few holes in the graves. Let's get together one day. Let's get the shovels out. Let's get the, and mashallah, alhamdulillah, we've done it
Yeah.
many times.
So with that, we set up another group as well, didn't we? A graveyard cleanup group.
Graveyard
I was
cleanup.
gonna mention
Okay.
We've got how many? Quite a few.
About 200 people in there.
200
now,
people,
mashallah.
yeah.
Okay.
We message in there how many people want to come, and everyone gets together.
How many do actually turn up on a day where you
So we've done
organise?
cleanup. How many times have you done the cleanup now? We've done the cleanup.
Five
like
times, 4 or 5
that's
times.
officially been done on like a message out. I think if we
About 50 people.
50,
Yeah,
sometimes we've had 80 people, but nothing like extreme,
think-
like thousands of people.
I think from this podcast, I think what we do,
Promote it.
let's get one going. I think we're due for a cleanup.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
100%.
I think we have
definitely.
100%.
I think the cleanup, right, what you got to remember is, right, the weathers at the moment are not so great.
Okay.
And I think when it comes to cleaning up,
Mm.
it's got to be done when the weathers are going to be nice.
Okay.
So obviously looking at, even we're in April right now, and the weathers aren't the best.
Yep.
Yeah. I think if we were to go into, like, say, we're going to be coming into, we've gone through spring, we're going to get into summer. And I think, you know, going into the summer, you're going to start getting overgrown grass or overgrown, you know,
Oh,
stuff
yeah,
up within
yeah,
the,
yeah.
on the graves.
Fair enough.
See, what we do is we don't actually strip the graves so they're bare, because
Mm.
obviously greenery, as you,
It's good
as
for
you
the
know, on a
grave.
grave is doing a ibadat for that grave.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you know, when we say we're cleaning up, we try and shorten down, you know, so we still leave the greenery there, try and shorten it down.
It's to
We
make
don't
it easy
do-
accessible for, you know, people that come to
Don't
live,
pass them,
visit
so.
their loved ones.
Okay. How many graves are there, and how many do you actually manage to get through?
So
On
where,
the cleanup,
Yeah, in the cleanup. Yeah.
well, it depends on how many people come.
Yeah.
So we've done, you know, so once we've done the clean of the gaps, so the gaps between the graves.
Yeah.
the
So the
walkways,
path is
the
yeah.
walkways,
Okay.
walkways. So the first one, I think we got through quite a lot.
the
on the new side of
first,
the
the
grave.
new,
The first one we got through
side,
most of it. I
We
think
got-
it was,
We got most of the new side done at that time when we did.
but that was two
Yeah.
years.
So what's the cost involved? Let's say so all that soil you're going to
So-
buy and
So cost, right? So when it comes to cost, when you go to work, you get paid. Yeah.
Yeah.
So money is time. Time is money. Yeah.
Mm.
The most precious thing is about giving time to these kind of things that happen.
Mm.
So when you're going out there and you're saying, right, I can give 4 or 5 hours, yeah, you're not getting paid for it, but Allah will pay you.
so
and a lot of the times when for example, Adil normally deals with this. So if we need, you know, shovels or trimmers or etc. Adil will put the word out. And mashallah, not once have we been let down. So someone would bring extra, you know, Pakistani, what are they called? You know, guys.
Yeah.
You know, someone
Ones
would
that look
bring
like that,
yeah,
like,
the one-
yeah,
so
that was
someone
Umar
bring
that,
other
yeah.
things, and then someone bring the electric thing. You know what I mean? So we've always had what we needed.
But when
And-
it comes to soil,
Soil.
Peter the graveyard will arrange the soil.
He'll always arrange
within
that.
the
So
graveyard.
what you're saying is there any cost or is there no cost?
No.
It's all
What we do
personal.
is we feed them. We actually go out our way and we get food out there, so
Okay.
volunteers do get fed. So even when
Yeah, that's as we putting it
We-
in
we
together,
all
and then
collectively
we give
select
them.
our
we'll do our own thing.
Because I remember the last time on Shab Barat when I was with you guys, past midnight when we were there, we saw quite a few graves completely sunk in,
Yeah.
and
Some of them are still like that right now.
still like that.
Well,
It's unfortunate, isn't it?
I think if we look at the bigger picture, is we say we look at the grave and we look at them and we say it's sad times that no one's come to this grave.
Mm.
Well, if we don't look at the other side of it, imagine you were a musafir, you've travelled in from Turkey,
Yeah.
and they've gone and said, right, that's it, we're just going to bury our loved ones here, and we're going to go. They've got no one else.
So we as a community, or the person
we need
that's-
to be in charge.
So for argument's sake, my father's buried in a certain plot. We look after the graves around,
Okay.
and if everybody did that, we shouldn't have that issue.
But why do you look after the graves around it? Is it something that you just felt like doing, or is
No,
it?
it's just that
is
it's,
it-
you just feel like looking after them.
Okay.
It's one of those things where you think, right, they might not have somebody here.
Hmm.
We'll do that. You do that where your dad is. Yeah.
Would you say that doesn't that not just stem from tarbiyah, your upbringing, or is that
No.
just to do with?
No, I think obviously yeah.
Yeah, it's obviously it's I think it is the way that we've been brought up, because dad always used to say to us, you know, when my grandma passed away, he made sure he said, that's your grandma's next door neighbour, that's your grandma's next door neighbour. So I think we've taken it from there. So he's always said look after.
Because when you're going to your dad's grave, you see the other graves, nobody comes and goes, so you know that they might not have anybody who's
Yes.
coming and going. For how many
They
times?
might
over
only
the
have
day.
daughters, and
Exactly.
like we say, women don't tend to
No.
visit the graveyards. So we could be in a situation, but mashallah, that person that's passed away might have had 18 daughters, alhamdulillah if they did. But you know what I mean? It was just literally ladies, and some ladies literally don't go to the graveyards. So obviously, depending on their beliefs and how they want to do things. So you've got obviously different ways of
I
thinking
remember
about
my father describing a story when he was in Rochdale, when he first came England. One of the first major employments he had was in Rochdale.
Golden Mosque, was it?
Golden Mosque.
Yeah.
So went to the graveyard, and was completely shocked to see what was happening. So he proactively went out of his way, spoke to the cemetery, got all the addresses for the graves that had completely collapsed, and he went, knocked on those doors. He goes, one person I went to, and he said, look, this is the situation. The grave's completely collapsed, and it's your loved one. Yes, it is. And if I'm not going to say who it was, probably mother, father, whoever it was, but it was from their family. Can we come and attend to it and fix it? And the response he got was, Uncle Ji, take as much money as you want, we ain't got time. And my dad till today, he narrates that story. And I'm narrating it to you because I've heard it of him. And he goes, I was shocked to the core for someone to say, look, Uncle Ji, take the money, we ain't got time for this. And that's the reality of people now.
I still think it's still the same.
Yeah.
I think it's
With
still
certain
the
people,
same.
not everybody. I think even now, like, so if you were to go back 10 years, 15 years, a lot of people within the surrounding of Manchester,
Yeah.
a lot of people used to send their loved ones
Back
to
home.
where they originated from, whether it was Pakistan, Bangladesh, India,
Yeah.
whatever it was. They used to do that a lot.
Hmm.
Okay, we're seeing less of that. We're seeing less of that because the loved ones want to bury close by, so they can go and visit.
Yeah. They should.
Which is brilliant. You know, the graveyards are getting full because of that as well.
Hmm.
Yeah. Where back in the days, a lot of people used to, go on planes straight back home, wherever they were from, and they used to do the burials over there. So we've seen a lot of people that are getting buried here.
Is there any specific rulings about that, Ustad? Is it better to bury your loved ones
Of
where
course,
they
the quicker the burial takes place, the more sukoon the body the deceased has. The longer it's delayed, it's prolonged. You're taking them abroad. I remember, even sending it abroad, the complications, the way they wrap the body and all the whatever medication that they're gonna inject the body with,
the embalmment and everything?
it's disgusting.
Allah.
And by the time the body gets to Pakistan, Allahu Akbar, what's happened to the body? What's happening in there?
Yeah, some people don't recognise, do they?
And no matter how much you tell them, don't do that to the body. Nope, Babaji said I want to be buried there.
Yeah, I think they go off the last wishes, don't they?
So would it be better for
So
someone
such
to
wishes are actually rejected.
Rejected,
in Sharia.
yeah.
They're not to be fulfilled.
Yeah.
So would you say that's one of them?
One of what?
If
That's one of the wishes,
if
yeah?
one of the wishes was I want to be.
Look, if he
Very
was
good
so
point.
adamant he wanted to be buried there, in his lifetime he should have gone.
That's
Should live
right.
there, yeah.
That's right.
He obviously didn't want to go in his lifetime. But why does he want to go after that then?
Yeah, true.
Plus, if you think about it like this, if your family is literally, your whole family lives here,
Yeah.
if you go back home and get buried back home, who's really going to visit your grave?
No one's going to visit you.
No
there.
one's gonna visit it.
Situation of the graves here. No
That
one
you
can
have in
live
Yeah.
there.
So it's better off, you're actually probably better off being buried here because at least your family could come
Even
and
if
sit.
they go once a
No.
week, or 52 visits a year.
But what we do
Even if
find
it's
is
once
we've
a
got
month.
massive Muslim community within Manchester.
Okay.
If you look at Fridays, you've seen it yourself. Fridays,
Very busy. So hard.
absolutely hammered.
So hard. It's
So as soon as you walk into the grave and you're doing your du'as in that graveyard, it's not going to that one person.
going for everyone.
Going to everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. But in terms of maintenance, like you rightfully mentioned, taking care of the neighbours around you, so that at least maintenance, basic maintenance for 4 or 5 graves around the loved one that's of yours that's buried there, it goes a long way.
Yeah.
Okay, experiences from graveyard experiences. Come on, spookers.
Spookers.
Come on, you
Go
guys
on.
probably got some ones.
The jaywalkers.
No. Oh, jaywalk is the code word for. You don't want to
We
say
don't
it.
say that.
Don't say it.
We don't
Go on.
say that.
I don't think I've had anything. But to be fair, there have been graves where I've seen, the coffin but I think we're all gonna go there. It doesn't scare
Well, for
me
you guys, it's
personally.
normal now.
I
Yeah.
Yeah,
think
it doesn't
is, I
scare
think
me
it is.
I think
personally.
because you've done so many, you just
Yeah.
It is.
That-
The reminder of death
Okay.
is huge for us.
I think
Because
that's what
I
attracts
get
us.
reminded of death
Every time we're there.
all the time,
Yeah.
whether I'm there or whether I'm not there, whether I'm driving past or whether I'm going into the graveyard.
think
It's a
there-
reminder.
There was one scholar, wasn't there, that he dug his own grave and he'd sit there every single day.
Yeah.
Read.
yeah.
What was it? Do you
I
remember?
don't
who it
remember
was,
the
or-
name, but I've seen pictures.
Yeah.
He would sit in the grave every day,
media.
like put himself on the spot. This is what I'm coming to.
And he'd be there all the time.
Actually,
So
they're
it's
talking.
service in a country now where you can pay them to have a grave experience
Mm.
all day.
No, yeah.
People are doing that.
I remember this recently in Ramadan. There was this video being on WhatsApp. Somebody got a lahad and actually tucked himself into it.
No
He lay
way.
down into it, and he's got the camera on him like this, and he's showing the experience, the physical experience of going to the grave. This is what I'm seeing, and then he's laid down in the grave, and he's tucked into the lahad. This is it.
The thing is, though, obviously, reality versus a different realm, isn't it?
Hmm.
Now, obviously, going in it in our physical body is going to be different to the when you actually physically
it does
pass
happen,
away,
yeah.
don't you? Now, obviously, if you're a good person, and I think I get what you were saying, that one of the reasons what attracts us to do the voluntary, because we're just trying to
Reminding
please
us.
Allah.
Hmm.
I'm not trying to please Babaji one by one, Babaji. I'm trying to please Allah. So we're all going to go in our own graves.
Hmm.
So I
We'll
think
have to make
what
our own
attracts us towards doing the voluntary, especially for the masjid, the funeral, whatever we can do, I think, brownie points, isn't it?
It's a
We're
reminder.
trying to
of
make
death.
we're trying to make sure our grave is, big and
Inshallah.
inshallah. as
I mean,
wide as
I've
I
also
can see.
heard when even though it's the same graveyard, but the soil is different. Have you experienced that?
In what way? Yes, I can tell you that.
Go on.
110%. You're right.
How?
You can look at. They dig one section of the grave, and it'll feel like Jannat al-Baqi. It's like sand. Yes, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
The actual sand. Then you go to another part of it. Literally, it could be the fourth grave along, and that'll feel like
Clay.
clay.
Yeah, hard.
But it's the same soil. It's the same area.
It's the
isn't
same
it?
area. Same area. Nothing's been added. Whatever comes out
Goes back
will
in.
go back in,
Yeah.
except for the extras that they'll move away, because obviously we've got the spacing.
Okay.
So if we're looking at that side of it, honestly, there's some that you.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a different world.
Go on.
You
share
feel it. You feel it. You feel it. When you're picking that soil, you feel it.
How?
You just the lightness of
Yeah,
that soil.
there's some janazas what we've done. They felt really light to do.
Yeah.
Some
Very
that-
light.
And this is we're talking 5 people there,
5 people.
5 family members with about 4 volunteers.
Okay.
It's
Very
been
easy.
very light.
Very
Where
light.
sometimes we've had 100+ people,
Okay.
It's been difficult.
and
Yeah,
it's
man.
heavy. We feel the pressure. We feel the heaviness,
As in we
and
ca-
that's the soil itself. We're not saying that person was a bad person. That's Allahu Alam. Allah knows that. But the soil, if you're talking about the different types of soil, yeah, you're right there.
We've tried. We've got
Different
got
types.
hundreds of people going like that. We still can't get it filled up.
Allah.
Then we've got sometimes there's only 2 of us there.
And it just takes.
You know what? It's like
It
how
goes in
quickly
like
do
air,
we just
yeah.
fill this up? So nice, mashallah. And remember that brother that lost his leg? His leg.
Oh
Yeah,
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 it
the
was.
leg, yeah.
It got amputated. His leg got
Amputated.
amputated.
17-year-olds, I think he was from. Where was he from now?
And then he passed away, didn't he, a couple of months later?
Passed away.
He buried his own leg.
He buried his own leg in front of us. He came to his grave,
Yeah.
buried his leg at the, and
And
then
he passed.
and we buried him in the same place.
Wow.
So he already knew. Was it cancer? I think.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
cancer.
yeah,
Was it cancer?
But we've seen him a few times coming to his grave.
He came to his grave a few times.
He
So
came
when you're
there,
talking about
prayed,
people praying at their own
Wow.
grave,
He came to his grave.
He prayed to his leg.
He
well,
came
just
to. He
praying
was
there
just.
because
He
he
was
knew
coming.
that he potentially could go back in there.
Allah.
He was adorning his grave before he entered his grave. Subhanallah.
Allah Akbar.
Allah.
But I think
And-
it gives you that sort of satisfaction as well. When you're doing things for the sake of Allah. I joke about all the time. Everyone knows that. Brown envelope. But actually, you feel that sense of relaxation once you do for the sake of Allah, and I think that for me personally, I can't talk for anyone else, but I feel rich after doing voluntary work. And you can ask the imams here as well, Hafiz, what's his name, Hafiz Fahim. You know, if he rings me, I'll do whatever I can for him, and it gives me that satisfaction. You know, I'm not nobody's slave, I'm only Allah's slave, but doing stuff for
Khidmat.
people and the khidmat, you know, it gives you that kind of relaxation. You feel rich, you know.
So if somebody wants to get involved with the funeral service, would you let them?
Why not?
Turn up.
Well, let's talk about.
Look, looks like you guys
Actually,
just
no,
done
no,
a
no.
takeover.
We're taking all the credit.
No. All right.
He wants the good deeds for
now, on a
himself.
serious level, we were at the graveyard during COVID. We had this young kid come up to us.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Aman.
Oh yes. Okay.
Aman.
Aman, yeah.
He was a local kid who used to go and see the nanny at the graveyard, at the cemetery.
Okay.
He comes up one day, literally
Shy
as anything.
Yeah.
19-year-old, you'd expect him to be a bit more. He goes, uncle. I go, what, uncle?
I think we got a bit
said, "I
offended
ain't
first."
Uncle, mate, uncle. Like, yeah, you're right, son. Right, you're right. He goes, how can I help?
All right.
How can I help? I said, first of all, I asked him how old he was. He goes, because he looks.
Yeah, he's quite
he looked
short.
short, young like me, but just. And he just literally wanted to help. So I said to him, as it just all day, right, okay, we're going to be here at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Get here.
He was there.
He was there before.
Before us.
Yeah, he's-
Subhanallah, he was
Did you even
before
think?
us.
Did you think he was actually going to turn up?
No,
we
we didn't. We were just having it. Like, okay, but come on.
Some people get into that hype, don't they? See it and they want
They
to
see
get
it,
involved,
don't
but
they?
then the
But
next day they get
honestly,
scared.
he is a part of the member.
To be fair,
Subhan.
to be honest, when I turned up the next day, I didn't know there was a random person there, and I was like, "Who's this kid? Where's he come from?" And then when they explained to me this, he just came up to us randomly out of nowhere. I was like, "Mashallah, check this. You just you."
Throughout the whole
He
of
was
COVID.
look when people aren't asked and they see you doing something and you're doing certain actions and you don't have to tell anyone, come help, do this, do that. They see the examples. People don't need to be told to do that to help out. They just want to see it, and when they see it, if you're doing a good job, if you're doing it for the sake of Allah, you're doing it with sincere intentions, then of course people
But, you know,
naturally will get
You're
attracted.
saying that, right? How many times we've had people say, "Brother, I want to come and help you. I want to come and help you. How can I do?" I said, you just need to. If you just turn up.
Turn up.
If there's a janaza happening, go and help them.
Get involved.
Just throw a few spades in. That's your first start, isn't it? A lot of the time in cemeteries, they're sat at the back having a yap. How many times you seen that? We've all seen that.
And I think our main thing is you lead by example, don't you?
Lead by example.
You know, if you sit there and just start going, oh, come, it doesn't work. You lead, just do what you're doing, and then people see it. You know, it's a sunnah as well, lead by example.
But yeah, alhamdulillah. It's,
But if you want to get involved in the janaza, anything, just come.
Anywhere in the
speak to,
masjid
Don't be shy,
We've
just
got
come, we've
Ghusl,
seen
we've
to
got
everyone.
Ghusl groups
Yeah.
at Manchester MCM.
to
Teach how to do it, and we've got a lot of brothers joining now. We've got lots of brothers. We've got brother Nassim from Cholton. We've got Apana Umar. We've got quite a lot of brothers.
So we get
Sisters group.
Sometimes we have times when there is no family members, or like I was
Okay.
saying before, that there's only women. Yeah. So that the deceased will only have no family at all. So the first thing that happens is that particular group, the Ghusl team, will get a text message to say, I've got Ghusl tomorrow or the day after. Is anybody free
Okay.
to help and attend? And if you've got 15, 20 people in a group like that, which you could have 100 in there, yeah? If you've got 15 people in there, and the first 5, 6, 7 people that say, yes, I can help, job's done.
And they will help you from the ghusl
No,
to
no,
the.
so they will do Ghusl only.
Yeah.
Okay.
They will do Ghusl only, where sometimes they will do it all the way to the
To the graveyard.
Yeah, because it's hard for someone to be here. We understand that everyone's got other things to do. So, like for example, with my main role in the janaza, I'm still a bit iffy about picking the body up from the hospital and do the ghusl. So I've put my name down from taking from the masjid after the ghusl to the burial, and I'll do that bit.
Okay.
But hopefully, inshallah, Allah gives me the
Courage.
to actually go.
It's not it's an actual scary experience going to Manchester Royal Infirmary to
it's scary.
to the mortuaries and looking at
picking up a deceased in
you're
a black
picking
bag.
up somebody
Look, it's
in a white bag, and it's a hard task.
How many bodies are there?
Oh,
when you
there'll
go in?
be they actually. We say they actually want us to come as soon as we can as well, so they've got that space.
More space for
There is fridges, you know, when you watch them films and stuff, they're coming out like that. They're literally like that. The ones that have been there forever. Then you've got the separate fridges, which like we have here. Many in there, and they literally, you're pulling out trays.
Wallah.
And it's not like they'll just give you a body. They will have to. It is straight there. Like, here's the paperwork.
But some
okay.
people are stronger than others, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like for example, I remember I was literally on Eid day. I was stood outside, and the funeral director at the time, Farag, he goes to me, "I got a body to pick up." I was like, "What?"
On Eid day.
Yeah, he goes, "I need your help." I was like, "What?" I had never ever done that in my life before. First experience in my
remember that
life.
day.
I got in the car. I go to a man was there. I go to, "You're coming with me because I've never done this before." He goes, "Sweet, let's go." He was ready to go as well.
Okay.
Got to the house.
To the house or the
To the house.
To the house. Okay.
Yeah.
Picking up a body from the house was an extremely different experience, and it's the first time I ever did it. And I remember walking up the stairs, and it was very narrow stairs, and very narrow. Took the bag upstairs, and I remember Charlie. She was laying on the bed. She passed away in the bed, and they had to
Okay.
wrap her in the sheets, and then we had to pick the deceased up, place her in the bag, pick it up in a certain way, and getting it down the stairs. The whole experience was crazy. I mean, there was one family member there, but I mean, it's difficult for certain people.
Yeah.
Like if that was a very difficult experience for me, because I've never seen that part of the funeral. I had never picked up. That was the first time I picked up a deceased body and placed it in a black bag, and it felt and had to zip it, and it was a very strange experience for me.
But
But
would you do it again though?
I would do it again, but mainly because it reminded me of this could be me.
Yeah.
That one day that could be me. I will be in that bag potentially. I mean, if Allah gives me that death, I might drown. We never know how I might pass away. But we're all gonna die.
Yeah.
We're gonna leave this earth one way or another.
Yeah, but the only
Right.
one guarantee in life is death. isn't it?
Exactly.
Some
We're gonna
say taxes as well, but you can avoid taxes.
Allah.
But death is definitely guaranteed.
But no, it's, we keep it light-hearted. No, 100%.
Yeah,
But we're all
one
gonna
guarantee in life is death.
we're
And I
all
think
gonna go.
doing the funeral side, it keeps us alert. Keeps us awake.
Keeps
us
on our
alert.
toes.
Remembering the definite.
It's like they're saying it. Death remembers you.
Yeah.
When do you ever remember death?
Yeah.
And we were talking about MCM, and we're part of the Masjid and we help out the Masjid, but we actually help out
The community.
within the funeral side of it. We helped the whole of Manchester,
During COVID, yeah.
regardless of where
Yeah.
you're coming
Where are you coming from? Who you are?
It doesn't
It
matter
came
where
to a stage, I remember, that Darul etc., all the other masjids from North Jamia Masjid, they were literally driving in,
Dropping
dropping off,
and getting
I'm going to get another one.
Yeah.
It
And
was
we were
literally
dealing
like
with-
that.
Your job, here you go,
Okay,
boys, you
and
better-
then we literally had
Team of 12, didn't we?
It was team of 12, two on each one. Right, you're taking them to with the family members. You're taking them to Janazah were being read at the cemetery.
Sometimes
that
4
point
at a
was-
time.
Sometimes they were literally in sections. So
So how many were you burying a week or per day?
Per day, between 6 and 8.
9. We had
One day
nine,
we had 9.
we
One
had
or 2
nine,
days
yeah.
we had 9.
Nowadays I turn up 3 times, innit?
Yeah.
3 times you turn up one day.
That was when it was.
That was
peak.
just because it was from
No,
Victoria Park
no,
Masjid.
that was literally
But otherwise-
getting to peak.
Yeah.
And then we had a string. It was like literally we had a marquee up in a corner.
Pete was, you don't. The praises we got from Pete goes, we couldn't have done it without you. We didn't do it for points, you know what I mean? We did it because we had the passion for it.
We
and-
just
Wait, what did Pete say though? What did he say to you after seeing your example? He said, "Save me that spot in that
Yeah,
corner
yeah, he
because I
wanted
want
to
to
be
be
buried
buried in
in
there."
the
What did he
Because
say?
I want to be in that corner. I think I'm
all
gonna save
these guys
that.
will look after
And I did say to him, take Shahada, you get buried there, otherwise you're not getting
What is
buried
it?
there.
Just say a few words. Just a
say a
few
few
words,
On
and you
my
can
words.
say that it's fine. Bismillah.
Did he say it then?
No.
No, next time
He's
inshallah.
retired though now, isn't he?
No, he's
No,
still
no,
there.
he's
He's,
come
he's
back,
back
he's
in at the
come
moment.
back.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy.
But I think they made it easy for us as
Yeah.
well. You know, doing that voluntary work, if other people start being aggressive with you, then you don't want to go back. Same as Masjid work, we're volunteering, but if we start being aggressive with little kids, they're not going to want to come back. So big part of it is that we need to keep our cool as well. Because you know the way society is, people are naughty, aren't they?
Misconceptions.
But I think as volunteers as well, it's not just, we're volunteering, but we've got to be playing nice as well.
Responsible.
You've got to be approachable,
Yeah, of course.
Of
we have to.
course.
especially for the younger ones.
That's why you
Nice,
Mashallah.
nice.
Gotta have a laugh
Okay,
at it,
so in any other difficulties right now in the graveyard? How much space do we have? After all of COVID,
We've done half of the new section.
More than half now.
More than
Yeah, it's more than half now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've got the whole.
are there any other options?
whole friend, yeah.
That's a question that I've got for you. Are we allowed to bury on top of the deceased?
Double up,
What do you mean?
Double up. So let's say my pops has already passed away. Am I allowed to be buried on top of him?
like Jannat al
Islamically.
He's mentioned.
Yeah, you can, but You're gonna have to ask the cemetery service. I mean,
No,
in
I mean,
terms of
Islamically,
Islamically.
yeah, we are.
Okay, so that's a question for the
Because we've got the one section that we've got left now. There's not a lot of spaces.
Then there's the other two.
And then I think after that we're moving just on the left side of it, aren't we, on the baby section? And then after that, Allah knows. COVID took over a lot of space.
on
Right, so shall I tell you the reason why it got taken over?
Go on.
I'll tell you the reason. So, deceased were coming from all over Greater Manchester. Because Manchester Central
Southern Cemetery.
Southern Cemetery.
Southern Cemetery is one of the only ones, or the one graveyards, that can bury within the same day.
Oh, okay.
One of them.
So
one of
within
them.
Manchester, we've got Mill Lane,
Millen.
we've got
Nell Lane.
no, so,
Yeah, well, yeah,
so,
Mill
so
Lane.
Mill Lane is
Dunamassy.
cheaper.
Dunamassy.
Dunamassy need 24 hours notice.
Okay.
Mill Lane need 24 hours
I think
notice.
same with Berry as well.
Bury need 24 hour notice. I think Rochdale's the only one that can do same day.
Bolton was doing same
Bolton
days.
doing same day, and Manchester.
Southern Cemetery.
But I think what it is they had the manpower to have them dug up. They were literally just digging.
So they, instead of them helping doing
The burials,
and
that's what-
filling in the graves,
And I think that's why Pete said you
we
guys helped
took
us a
over
lot.
that section of it where they could continue to dig,
Dig
out
the
graves
graves for us.
for the next one, and the next one, and then the next
Because
one.
there was a few times where we had Janaze waiting and we had to dig out
Extra holes,
digging,
yeah.
extra holes
whilst
because
they're waiting.
we weren't expecting the
Yeah, they didn't
Janaza,
fill out too much.
and
They had to. He had to turn one away at one
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
It came from Oldham and didn't notify him.
Okay,
Yeah.
so as a procedure for somebody that's probably never had any loss in their family, what's the procedure from the moment they pass away? I know there's a difference if they pass away at home and if they're at the hospital.
So when
What's-
it comes,
Adil's
if
a
it-
good one for that.
No, so if it goes to the hospital, yeah, hospital, depending on the cause of death and the way the coroner signs off the death, is where the process would start.
Okay.
Okay, so if it's a person that's had a known health issue and is in the hospital with this known health issue, the doctors are fully aware of these health issues, then majority of the time the cause of death is determined straight away,
Okay.
which means it's all about that's when all the paperwork starts
Okay.
from there. If it's if they don't know about cause of death, then it could go into a scan, it could go into post-mortem. And obviously in Islam we trying to stay away from,
Are there alternatives to post-mortem? Let's say they
That
adamant.
scan, isn't
It's
it?
the scan is. I
it's a
think.
body scan, but even with the body scan, not
Sometimes,
always
yeah.
shows off the cause of
the
death.
cause of death is not always shown.
The process is very simple. You know, when somebody passes away, if you're talking about the actual process, time,
Itself, yeah.
when somebody passes away in a hospital bed, for example,
Okay.
putting aside what the conditions of the cause and everything, from the moment of the passing away, and if we're looking at we want to be burying as soon as possible, the actual staff of the hospital will never ever tell your family members to leave the hospital
By
bed.
policy, yeah?
By policy, because
Okay.
when you're grieving, you've got as much time as you want
Okay.
by the side of the person who's passed away. But if we're looking at, if we want to do things quickly, the quickest way is someone's passed away, we've spent an hour or so there, everybody needs to leave.
So the delay really is us then, isn't it?
Yes.
Because we're sticking around.
We're sticking around.
And it
If
takes-
we
it
ain't
can go to
sticking
the next
around,
day.
it can move on. So the quicker you move away, they will then start doing their preps to send them downstairs to the mortuary. To send it down to the mortuary, they have to then fill out the forms, the cause of death, what happened, how it happened, everything. Fill out the final paperwork and send it down. Now, until that doesn't happen, they ain't doing anything.
Okay.
They are not literally. They won't even. They'll say yes, don't worry. We're going to do it as quick as possible. But you're still there. You
So
have
not till
to
you don't leave.
physically leave.
Okay.
You have to physically leave.
All right.
Once that process is done and you have gone, then obviously then it goes on to the bereavement centre. The bereavement centre will then call the family members. They will discuss what's happened. Once it's happened, then it'll go to the coroners. The coroners then sign it off. Then we've got the green slip, or it's going to a post-mortem, depending on which way it's going to go.
So, okay, let's suppose there's no post-mortem.
So it's
Everything's in the clay.
got everything in the clay.
Is that when when the masjid gets...
Yeah, that's
Okay.
when the masjid gets involved.
Okay.
Faraq and Faraq, mashallah, honestly, Allah give him a long and healthy life. He's give us the opportunity to actually get involved in the funeral side. You know, he could have easily turned and said, no, go.
So mine.
But he's let us get involved. You know, if we say, oh, you know what, I'm free today, let me do it. I want to, he'll let you do it.
Yeah.
And mashallah, that's one thing about Farag, great.
It's so funny because I'm looking after him for these last 10 days. Wake up
I'm
at
thinking
night.
that I'm looking after him for the last 10 days, taking all the benefit.
No.
So am I, bro.
No, like
So are we all.
Wait,
no, not that.
disclaimer.
Disclaimer.
He's in i'tikaf, that's why.
Yes, Farag's in it.
Yeah,
That's
so
why
let,
they take
let-
it. That's
Okay,
why
so
they're
let
in
me
charge.
explain that. You didn't let me finish. Right, so basically,
It's the same with you, innit?
He's
Whenever
given-
he wants to give charity, these two have a competition.
no,
Whenever he gives charity, he goes, no, I'm giving it myself.
No, basically he said for the quiz on itikaf, he goes, right, here's the jabbi and everything. And the first thing I said, right, sat in the corner, man, may Allah make it easy for all these buzurg out there. Nobody dies until after Saturday.
Astaghfirullah. He's taking away the blessing of
taking
passing
the
away in Ramadan.
Make
What's
it
going on?
harder.
He was joking when he said that.
No, he was only messing. No.
Well, no, alhamdulillah.
But alhamdulillah, Farag's give us the opportunity
Yeah, of course he has.
to help out with the funeral side. Mashallah.
nice,
It's
nice.
good.
So MCM gets involved, so they will go pick the body up.
Yeah, so you just
Yes.
leave it with them, they'll do everything.
And I think there's one thing that I hear a lot from the funeral director and everyone else is that if someone passes away in your family, don't have 5 different people calling up.
Yeah, don't be
Calling
cheats.
up different mosques, calling up this, it makes it so complicated. You have one person in the family, let them deal with everything.
Yeah, let them be
Either
there.
one point
Look,
of call.
for example, let's give for example, if there's a family member that passes away in our family,
Well, take
I would
take
never
our
get
dad-
involved.
Take our dad as an example.
Yeah,
Go on.
I didn't get involved with the burial side, as in like getting everything.
the paperwork and
sorted.
everything. Yeah,
I left the hospital. You two were still there.
Mm.
You
I
were
was
the
still
last
there.
ones to come home. I came home.
okay, mum as
They
well.
started doing all the stuff. on that
Because I
side.
think if everyone gets involved, it just gets complicated.
Too many
doesn't it?
chiefs spoil the broth, is it?
So I think, yeah, it's a very good point. If one person passes, if you've got 10 brothers, 5 brothers, pick one person,
And let them do it.
let them deal with it, because then it makes it easier for example, someone like Farag as well, to deal with one person.
It's just easy to liaise with him.
Easy, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, if you got 10,
Okay, may I ask, what's the costing?
For the funeral side itself.
The whole thing, like from picking the body or bringing masjid, the ghusl,
Between
kafan.
That,
give
I
a
think,
range.
you're talking roughly, if it's within the Manchester area,
Let's talk for Southern Cemetery. So
so you got Southern Cemetery, but if someone passed away in Stockport and they want to be buried in Manchester, it's a bit of a higher price. But if you pass away in Manchester and you want to be
They've got-
buried
they've
in the
got-
Southern
yeah.
Cemetery,
The other postcode
so
on there.
to get the list, we won't know from the top of our head, no, because then they might have changed it by now. So we can't
no prices out,
disclaimer, we can't give prices.
Even like
So
a-
it's very simple. It's very simple. You live-
किया सी इतना
lived
price
in-
हैगा उन मैंने कह रहे 4000 हैगा
since when do you speak that?
मैं हो गया.
Mashallah. Oh, mashallah.
Do you know what I mean? So roughly, if you put a rough price on it, it's about 3,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just a rough
3, 4, 5.
Rough.
So I
3 to
think
5,
3.5,
I'd say.
I think
Yeah,
it is.
3 to 5 in it.
Rough
3 to 5.
idea.
No, it's not 5. No, that's not.
It can go to
But
5.
I'm also aware,
go.
I
They
think
can go.
MCM also have a service where if the family cannot afford, make part payment and the rest the masjid will finance because we have
I think
donors.
there's 2 ways of looking at that. So you've got, if you have a look at the way so if there's someone that can't afford it fully, where they've
No
come-
family
no
members.
family members. So we've had times where Manchester Central Mosque have actually said to Manchester Royal Infirmary that if there's a Muslim that's passed away and the body's not been claimed for a
Lord,
certain amount of time, because
Then we'll take care of it.
like that.
Yeah, we have.
Any example? Like what?
So
There was one. There was one about probably 4 years ago.
It was 4 weeks
There was
old, wasn't it?
a man who passed away in his flat, and he was there for about 4 or 5 days, and they took him to the hospital. Didn't claim him. I think he was there for 4
4
weeks.
weeks
Yeah,
it
4
was.
weeks.
Something
Wow.
like that.
And then they contacted,
us.
and then
4
Farag-
weeks was in the freezer then.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
we
put him
will
in the
be.
hospital after that.
So-
And then when they actually contacted Farag said we'll take him straight away.
We'll take you.
Lord.
So mashallah, you took
we
him
we
straight.
have got I'm actually we've got a community out there
Who's willing to help?
within Manchester that will fund, whether it's through the masjid or whether it's
Subhanallah.
there's always where there's a will there's a way.
Look, at the end of the day, we don't know where we're going to pass away as well.
Yeah.
And if we are able to help other people in hope that if something does happen to us in a
Then
different
we'll get
community,
helped,
inshallah, that.
I remember leading one about a month or two ago. Similar situation, from abroad, nobody, there's no contact. And I was told just before the janazah, it has no one.
No.
I think I was at that.
And the masjids financed all of that
Yeah.
on their own. Subhanallah.
There's the
Why do you reckon that happens? Is that so? One scenario is the travellers.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're travellers, and then sometimes older people come. They've got no let's say, connection with anyone back home. And if it is, it's only their wife, for example.
Okay.
So we had one case where he was in his 60s and he didn't have no kids. So he's come to the UK and his wife's back there and she didn't know where he was. There was no contact. So you can have cases like that where they don't know what's happened. Looking at the, India-Pakistan partition, when people used to pass away, they didn't know who's passed away, who's still alive. So I think it's similar, like that. So
Yeah, it happens. It's a tough one.
One really sad story somebody was telling me was the inheritance case kicked in. We've had situations like that as well.
yeah.
I remember you told me one a while ago. What was that one? I think even before the body could be taken away, they wanted their portion of the inheritance.
Allah.
This happens very often
It happens
in
everywhere. I
everywhere.
think it happens everywhere, I think.
I know. I remember a case back home in PK, just opposite our Jami in the street. The Buzurg's grave is his body's at home, and they're not allowing him to take the body out of the home.
Because they want to sort out the finances.
They will sort out the finances.
Allah.
Is that happening here as well?
I hope
Well, if
not.
it is, it's-
Even if it is, we don't get
We
involved with
don't
that.
we don't get to
Even if we hear it, in one ear out the other. But to be fair, I've never witnessed
I've
something
never
like that.
witnessed
No, I've
No,
never.
I haven't.
But I'm sure things like that happen.
think-
Unfortunately, this is society nowadays. You hear stuff, don't you? But it's just
Trying to
important
avoid
not to,
it,
yeah.
yeah,
Because at the end of the day,
we're
if you get
careful.
involved in that kind of stuff, you're ruining what you're doing.
Yeah.
It becomes gossip, doesn't it? So even if we hear it, we don't get involved.
Sahi. Nice. G. Okay. I think my cameraman at the back, he's signalling
4 minutes left.
4 minutes left.
Subhanallah.
Right, that was fast, wasn't it?
I know.
I had a question.
Go on.
This one's for you, Molana Sahab. Types of graves that can be dug Islamically, what are the types? And then for the volunteers, can that be done in the UK? Both of these types of graves?
That's for them to answer, really. So the two types of grave you have is lahad and mahad. Yeah, lahad and qabr. So qabr is where directly you just. So if this is the body,
It's what we do right now.
this is what we're doing in the UK, and traditionally it would be a lahad.
Would go
So go down and then they would tuck the body in.
Into the grave.
This way you could easily get 3-4 graves put in. Currently in Jannatul Baqi, that's the procedure they follow.
That's right.
So if they have several deaths in one day, they'll tuck all of them into one grave, one above the other, with a slight separation, fill it up, job done.
So I can probably answer that.
Go on.
I think that's something that is there for the masajids within Manchester to get together. I think is it 10 Muslim councils that get together
I
that
think,
do the saying that this is right, we're going to bury in this section now.
Okay.
And they get involved. I don't know who's part of that team. It would probably be one for us to get involved in. I think, yeah.
No, because
in the
Pete,
future.
I did ask Pete once, and he said because the soil in the UK, because of the rain,
in
Soft
Manchester.
and
in Manchester especially, it's impossible to do because when it goes into the L shape, it's just going to keep collapsing in. So he goes, unless, he did say, unless we put concrete inside,
Which then costs.
but then the
Always
costs
cost,
increase then,
yeah.
don't they?
Yeah.
What are the downsides to that? I'm sure Bury or something like that do the concrete as well. Isn't it?
Buried it, and we went to one
went-
recently in Birmingham as well.
They do
What's
it,
the
yeah, they
downside?
do it.
Birmingham, it's a cost. It's a cost. I think obviously, as far as I know, my knowledge is we shouldn't put anything with fire in the grave.
Yeah.
So, for example, bricks are made from fire.
But there's
Concrete, I think concrete's not made from fire.
Concrete's all right.
Yeah, concrete's okay. So Pete did say that because we mentioned it quite a lot of times. Let's put concrete inside, but the cost will just go up.
But
they're prefabricated.
You're talking over £1,000 extra.
And it's already,
But it's not just about the money; it's the time.
yeah.
And
So-
and what I would say, so that we had this conversation about should we have a section?
For VIPs.
Well,
Technically,
Under the person continue. No problem, we'll take your
That's
money.
what the conversation was about. And you know, if we had a
a
section,
VIP grave.
if we had a
VIP
section within the graveyard
That
that
was
was made out of concrete,
Hmm.
which the cost was £5,000, say
example.
for argument's sake,
Yeah.
and then there was a section where the cost was £2,500 to £3,000, I will know where you're burying your loved one, whether you're cheapskate or not a cheap, because that's what it goes. That's what
Yeah,
and it's
it-
not
it's
wrong.
not
It's
right.
right.
It's not right.
Okay, now
You
listen.
you
If,
can't.
if the whole purpose of concrete grave was so you could get multiple graves,
Then it's-
yeah.
maybe-
But someone who wants a VIP grave, he's not going to share with
That's what
anyone.
we were having.
Well, I've already told Pete, I said, Pete, make me a grave with concrete. We'll see what he does in it.
No, so that VIP grave would want it all for himself. He's not going to share.
Yeah.
Oh, it's-
So it defeats the purpose.
Yeah,
See, what
exactly.
happens is then it's not it's not fair on the people that may not be. able
Yeah,
to
because
afford it.
you're putting them down, you're making them feel
Feel
small.
small.
Everyone's
Because if
equal.
they-
You can't do that.
And plus what he did say was, he goes, we're burying so many in a week, month, that we can't have prefabricated ones coming in.
That's what I said. Time.
The
It's
the
come down to
smaller
time.
cemeteries could have 10 prefabricated concrete graves
Right,
put
yeah.
in,
And they'll bury in 6 months
and it'll take 6 months to
or
fill it,
a year.
Yeah.
sometimes a year.
Hmm.
Whereas we can have, you can look
Like
at
10 a
it.
day. What would you
Yeah.
one night
No,
a day?
if we talk on a normal day, we can have, like the other day there was 3
There was
janazah.
3 the other day. Yeah.
There was so on an average week can have about 14, 15 a week. They can't prefabricate 15. We're talking.
We haven't got the manpower.
They haven't got it, and they prefabricate cranes coming in. They have to thingy, then they have to dig out channels, and then in between them they have to fill in
Then get rid of the soil.
and then get rid of the soil. It's too much effort for them.
Too much
Any
involved.
Islamic like malpractices you've seen, things that are really bad that people shouldn't be doing religiously, and you've had to step in.
We don't get involved in that.
Don't really. No.
I don't think we get involved in that. I've seen a few things,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's me gossiping, and I'm not one to gossip.
All right, let me ask you. Let's ask a
I'm not
question.
one- I'm not one to
Let's ask
gossip.
a question. You know this agarbatti thing that this.
Ah, yeah, that's
What's this about?
That, to be fair, yeah, I've approached people on that sense. You know where they put the agrabati on the grave?
actual grave.
So I just go up to them and say, brother, you know it's fire. It's
Agarbatti,
better for you.
incense stick,
Incense
stick.
stick.
just in case.
It's
I
better
don't know.
not to stick it on the grave because it's fire and the ashes falling on the grave. So they do listen there. They think, oh yeah, they'll put it on the side.
And then if you want to
So
say
that
it
about
in a
that.
nice way, so bro, would you like your finger?
Yeah.
Imagine like your finger with light.
You make it personal, don't you,
Make it a little
really?
bit personal. You would never.
That's to be
Hassan-
fair though. I don't know the whole Islamic.
See, that's completely wrong.
reason-
Completely wrong. See, the Al-Azhari Rahmah has extensive fatwa on this.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Lighting any fire, any agarbatti. Now you have those candles people put on
Yeah.
Yeah, they
in
do.
that lantern thing.
Yeah.
Whether if it's a fake one, fine.
Okay.
Yeah, like an,
It's real life.
but if it's a real one with a candle lit in,
Yeah.
completely haram is
Yeah,
forbidden.
yeah.
Is it? Okay.
But
And
it's
I think
happening.
that's-
I had funny that you mentioned it. One guy, you know where my papa is buried
Yeah, yeah.
In the
Yeah.
old side.
in the old side. Yeah. So just on that side, I won't mention where. One brother I approached, and he had 4 candles lit on all 4 sides.
Corners.
And I approached and said, look, if you don't mind me saying something, yes, go ahead. Look, it's haram to light fire because the deceased one in the grave feels the impact, the heat. And as a Muslim, and we must follow the Sharia. The Sharia says it's completely forbidden. Guess what his response was?
Go on.
He goes, we're from the Ahlul Bayt, and the fire doesn't touch us.
Allah.
I took a U-turn.
At that point, you have to. You can't. You
Yeah,
can't
you
sit
do
there.
what
I'm not going to challenge that.
You've said what you've said.
Whatever, I've
You've done your bit.
Yeah.
You've done your due diligence. Due diligence. I'm not one to gossip, but I think that's probably one of the only things that.
Allahu Akbar.
So it's Sahri time. I need to eat. That's one of the only things I've seen, to be fair. But I've had people coming up to me.
Okay.
Oh, brother, you shouldn't pray over a grave. Like, alhamdulillah, I've read Surah Yasin since Dad's passed away. Every Friday, alhamdulillah, I go every Friday read Surah Yasin. But I've had people come up to me saying, "Oh, brother, you shouldn't read Quran over the grave, etc., etc." But I've seen hadith where it says read Surah Yasin, but again, at the end of the day, that's between me and Allah. If it was something like putting a fire, I wouldn't do that. But
See, wrong practices are doing sajdas or praying
Yeah,
salah
yeah,
directly in the graveyard. That would be wrong.
question.
Any sajda of such. But recitation of the Quran is proven from authentic hadith. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I don't know whether we have the book here in this library or not. I don't think so. In Jami' Kabir. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this Sahabi passed away, and he's giving wasiyah to his son. The Sahabi's name is Lajlaj alayhi radiyallahu anhu, giving his nasiyah that when I pass away, on my headstone recite the Surah Fatiha, on towards my feet, the last 2 ayahs of Surah Baqarah. And he said, this is the wasiyah the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave us when he passed away. Yeah, this is why it's a practice of the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah to recite Surah Fatiha on the head side, and towards the feet, the last 2 ayahs of Surah Baqarah. It was the instruction of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
And is that only at the time of janazah? Or is
Yeah,
that
so at the time of burial.
at the time.
But that in itself, so if that's after the burial is taking place, from there onwards, wherever you are, it's perfectly jais
Yeah.
to recite the
One
Quran.
question. Talqeenul Mayyit is something that happens in Syria.
Talqeen al-Mayyit is proven from authentic hadith, Bukhari, Muslim,
Can you
several.
explain what that is when they tell him what his jawab
Talqeen is yeah. So before you leave, the final few people that leave the grave, yeah, everyone else goes.
Yeah.
So talqeen should be privately done.
Yeah.
It's not a public thing to be done.
Okay.
So last few people was before they leave is to remind the deceased of the responses he needs to give when the two angels come in. Yeah, Munkar and Nakir come in and they start the questioning. It's a practice of the Prophet ﷺ. There are at least 4 references within Sahih Bukhari alone. Yeah, and similar number in Sahih Muslim as well. All the hadiths mention it, but because it's not a practice that's common, people now question, "Oh, look, committing shirk."
Yeah, because a
committing
lot
bid'ah."
of people say that once you take that final step,
That's it. Walk
is
away.
when Munkar and Nakir will come to
Yeah, so
question
before they
the
come
deceased.
in, the final people,
Yeah.
to give that talqeen, that final reminder, now we leave it. Now what I do now, whether people are aware of it or not, when I do the dua here, I make the dua in a way that's almost a talqeen anyway.
Yeah, I noticed that.
So you don't need to go and do it in the grave.
Yeah.
After my bit, the
Yeah.
talqeen, the reminder's been done.
Yeah,
So nobody will actually know that's actually happening.
I do.
So if all this time people have been taking part, yeah, and when they go to the grave and they see it happening, they call it bid'ah, it's already been happening.
Yes.
But the point is, the moment he's passed away, he's become more vigilant.
Yeah.
The soul becomes, it's free from the burden of the body. It becomes more powerful.
Yeah, it's the limitations of the body, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
So
free from
it hears and sees better. Even the famous references of those that were killed in Badr, Abu Jahl and co, when they were thrown in the well, and as Umar Farooq is saying, "Ya Rasulullah, who are you speaking to?"
that. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when they were thrown in the well. The Prophet ﷺ, they listen better than you do.
Yes.
Yep.
So if that is the lowest of the lowest, Abu Jahl, if he can hear the Prophet, and he can hear better than Umar Farooq, who stood next to the Prophet, then imagine mu'mineen that are passing away. Do you not think they will have the power to hear and listen? So this is where the talqeen takes place, and that reminder takes place, and then you leave.
So, for example, how long would you say the time scale is then
For what?
for that to stay at the grave?
For
You know,
talqeen.
for the small, for the
Yeah,
small.
so once
amount of
everyone's
people.
gone, like I said, last few people, make that talqeen, remind him of the
Even if it's for a minute, 2 minutes.
For a minute, that's it.
Okay.
And can that be done in any language? English, Arabic,
Any language.
Urdu?
And does it have to be the actual family
Farsi.
members, or can it be anybody?
anybody.
Because we could start doing
In
that.
Syria, they get a sheikh to do it.
Or do they?
And I asked the Syrian scholar, and he said, هذا العمل تواتر عندنا.
Yeah.
Allah.
He said it's mass transmitted. It's been done from the time of the Prophet in Syria. Still
And it's been with
Till
them
now, yeah.
Till now.
Sit right at the head of the stone, and they'll speak to him directly and say this and this.
Unfortunately, just
That's
the current generation that hasn't been
Introduce
exposed to that,
introduced that.
they will start questioning, look, these guys are committing shirk, they're speaking to the grave. The Prophet ﷺ used to do it, man.
That's based on ignorance, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
Khair.
Allah.
Khair.
Jazakallah. Fatiha.
Al-Fatiha.
Al-Fatiha.
Yeah, the Turkish do Al-Fatiha. I think we need to make that a common practice.
Allah.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.